Are you a kingdom-minded entrepreneur looking to start a business inside the trades? Or maybe you're a Christian business owner looking to scale your business. If so, I'm creating a one-stop shop for creating jobs, making disciples, and serving the city inside the trades. Each weekday, Monday through Friday from 3:16, we're going to start interviewing different business owners in different trades and learn how they create jobs, make disciples, and serve the city. And if you'd like to join me on a seminar on how to start and scale a business inside the trades, I'd like you to visit the asyougo.network today and sign up. And also, I'm looking for some business owners that are actually using their business to fulfill the Great Commission. And I don't care what trades it is. If you'd be interested, one second, Jara, if you'd be interested in being on the show, I'd love to interview you and share your story with others today. Now, let's get into today's show. Steve, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Let's start off by letting everyone know your first last name, which is more manly than mine, the name of your company, and where you're located at.
Did you get that?
I hope so. So, just in case, let me get it one more time.
All right. You've owns Pro Wash in Jacksonville.
Let's go. I actually follow a pastor out there named Joby Martin in the Jacksonville area. So super area.
Too.
Yeah, they have a great ministry going on.
Moved here in 2017.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, let me ask you this. When you actually left your corporate job and you ended up secretly maybe having this daydream that one day you're going to flush the corporate job down the toilet and start your own business, what made you start thinking about starting your own business and leaving your corporate job, which offered safety and security?
You know, I've always been some sort of business owner. This is actually my third business that I've run. But I went to business school in 2022, community classes, and it didn't matter what
What I'm going to do is I will not publish this until I run it through some AI to get rid of anything that we end up asking twice on. So if I end up not here, I'll just trust that you finished. And then once I hear you again, I'll end up asking you the next question. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
And so you just complete the story as if it's going to grab everything. Okay.
Okay.
So let me ask you this. What was really the motivating factor for you to start up now 3 years ago?
Honestly, I started the business for two reasons. One is to pay for my boat. I really wanted to get a boat and we needed some extra income to pay for this boat. So I said, well, if I could just do a couple driveways a month, I'll be able to afford this boat. And then it became a business where I wanted to provide for my children. I wanted them to be able to work in a business when they were in high school and be able to make some extra money on the weekends and not having to go work at a grocery store or anything in retail. They could just go work their business and be done with it. So that's how it all originally started.
If someone is looking at your videos, I notice you're also on your Facebook page, which you're doing a fabulous job. You're kind of journaling the journey daily, almost like a vlog where anybody can follow you. What do you think people are missing as what it actually takes to make this leap?
Oh man, that list is very, very long. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and I try to put some of the authenticity into my videos to make sure that they understand, you know, the anxieties are real, the depression is real, the financial commitments are real, taking on new debts are real, all those things that we are questioning and struggling with as humans every day. those things are in full force, especially when I initially made the decision to move away from my job. The calculations of, am I going to be able to afford it? What are we going to have to cut back on? Is this the right decision? All the same decisions and questions that everybody else is asking themselves, I went through and just finally took the risk and said, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And what's the worst that's going to happen?
When you say things like the depression, the anxiety, the risk, would you mind just spelling some of those out?
Oh yeah, the anxiety was real. I mean, my wife and I were, just we were just in extreme fear of like what's going to happen next. Actually, shouldn't even say my wife, because my wife has been my biggest cheerleader. She has been telling me it's going to be all right. You need to do this, and I'm the one with all the self-doubt. A lot of people don't really see that because they see me, happy-go-lucky on the camera, but I do have a lot of self-doubt. I have a lot of questions I ask myself. Is this going to be able to be sustained? Am I going to be able to make it? And all I keep on doing is just keep pushing forward. And that seems to be working out pretty good for me.
Yeah. What had to happen for you to actually be able to, like, I'm thinking that you started a business 3 years ago. Do you know what your revenue number was year one?
Yeah, it was 13,000 for the whole year.
So you did 13K year one, year two,
44,000.
and are you on year three now?
This is past 3. So year 3 we did 170,000.
Okay, so there's a few things here. First, what helped you go from almost $100,000 increase from year two to year three?
It was the branding. When we finally decided to go all in on the business, we spent a lot of money on the branding, the logo, the mascot, the website, SEO, keyword search, the ad spend, the Google ads, the Facebook ads. We tied everything together, and it's not just about the branding. It's about the whole customer factor that we tied into our brand. How are we going to represent ourselves when we pull up with a truck? We got the fully wrapped truck. We wanted to look professional. We wanted to create a process on how to greet the customer brand. It's so to brand our name because it's all around boxing. So, we knock out dirt and we fight grime. It's all very easy to put into our brand. So it wasn't hard.
So good, and it's something that so many just don't have the resources to make happen, because there's a lot of dudes that are bought a pressure washer and they bought some flyers and they're going door to door listening to books, but they don't have the money to drop inside of wrapping the truck and going all in. Where did you find the economics to make that happen?
That is an awesome question. I'm glad you asked that, because my brand manager tells this story to everyone. When I first called my brand manager, we use here in Jacksonville, a local guy, I got a quote from him to do the website. Originally, I just wanted advertising. He said, listen, you need a whole new website. I can't advertise that website. A lot of people don't really realize all the back end work that goes into websites. If you're spending $200 to $1,000 on a website, it's not going to do what you think it needs to do on the back end. There's just so much stuff that goes into it. So that was the first thing. He says you need a website. Okay, how much is a website going to be? It's going to run you between $5,000 and $8,000. And if you're just a guy that's following these pressure washing groups and you see daily advertisements of websites for $250 to $1,000, and then you see a price tag of $8,000 for a website, you're like, they must be out of their mind. So that's exactly what I thought. I'm like, man, $8,000 just for the website, and then another $3,500 for the logo, and another, $700-800 here and there. And by the time it was all said and done, the bill came out to around $25,000. And I took out that little thing in my wallet called a credit card, and I said, I don't recommend this now. Okay, this is not financial advice by any means, but this is what I did. I didn't have a lot of money, saved up. And what I did was I took my credit card and I swiped the card and I said, we're either doing this or we're not. And I started the whole process. 2 months later, I get an apartment job to clean 21 apartment buildings. That was $21,000. So if I never got the branding, and if I never got all that stuff, that company would have never recognized me. They would have never reached out. They would have never gave me that offer for that bid. And from there, that one job paid for all of that. One job just paid for the whole thing. So if you're not willing to take the risk, which I'm not giving, like I said, I'm not giving financial advice, but if you're not willing to take the risk, then don't do it, because you have to be all in or you're not.
Yeah. What's different about you than most that you're willing to go all in?
Oh, I just have an extreme amount of drive right now. For the longest time, I was a chef, and then I got pulled out of my role around the COVID years. I worked in the test kitchen at the corporate office, creating recipes and working with scientists. When COVID came around, they shut down the corporate office, so I worked in the field. So when I was out visiting stores and making sure that the essential employees were out doing their thing and creating processes. And then went into production planning, and I was just a remote worker at that point. And I just lost my purpose. I identified as a chef. Anybody that knows me at my job, they called me chef. They never even called me by my name. They'd be like, "Hey, chef, how you doing, chef?" And that's what I was always recognized. And then when I lost that identity, I completely lost my purpose. I was confused on what I wanted to do as a career path. I tried to go back to school. I was taking classes for business, and I was kind of all over the place trying to get into different things. And the pressure washing just landed into my lap. And once I figured out how to keep that engine turning and create some revenue, I started putting all the things that I learned from my corporate job, processes and SOPs and branding. I put all that into the business 100%, and it just started taking off.
Yeah, I want our listeners and those that are processing and wanting to do what we've done to think about this. Can I call you Steve?
Yes.
When you weren't, let's go back to 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago. When you were off of work, what were you doing with your time?
Typically I would be fishing or, hanging out with the kids, just doing stuff around the house. We had a really big garden. We had a gardening channel for a while. So we started a real big garden. It was like 40 feet by 30 feet, 21 raised beds. That was like our COVID project. So everybody knew us for gardening. We were all over LinkedIn, just posting all of our harvests all the time. So that was one of our cool hobbies. It was supposed to be a family hobby in the beginning. The kids were like, "Yeah, we're going to do gardening." There's some pictures in the very early days of them tossing some dirt, but every time they heard, "Let's go pull some weeds," they got lost.
So how many hours a week were you putting into your corporate job?
I was full time. I mean, I was full. You're talking about when I was just before I started the business?
No, we're talking about you've got the side hustle going on one
Oh,
side.
okay. All right. I skipped that part. Sorry.
Yeah,
So
no.
my corporate job, I was full time Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
And then you're fishing, hiking, you're doing gardening. Where did you find time to actually start and scale this business then?
Oh man, time is of the essence when you're running a business, and you can ask all my friends. They'll tell you if they were having a party or something in the morning, I would have to wait until I finished my jobs. I'd be like, "I got a job on Saturday. I'll come over afterwards." Or I would come home, literally, I would back the trailer into the garage, dump the trailer, back the truck back up, pick up the boat trailer, because I have the boat parked right next to the house. I'd pick up the boat, and then we were off at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You could get a house wash and a couple driveways done in the morning, and then off to the water we went.
So do you remember specific events that you had to say no to so you could say yes to scaling your pressure washing business?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, you have to sacrifice. You have to. You just have to do it.
Any memories that are stained in the back of your head where you're like, and my neighbors are going and they're going out on the lake today?
I don't think anything specific, but we managed it pretty well, because I always found time. Because the thing about me, starting a business and owning a business is the freedom. Everybody wants the freedom, but you don't see all the work that goes in behind getting that freedom. So I still wanted there to be a little bit of a balance, because ultimately my goal was to be a business owner and not an operator in the field all the time. So I still appreciated that time where I was away, and I was able to say no to some stuff. But for the most part, if I had jobs, I'm working jobs.
Yeah, the story that stains in my head that I'm wondering if there was one in yours is I'm like working on my boat trailer. When I say boat trailer, I converted a boat trailer to a flat deck and then built a pressure washing because I bought it for $300 and put wheels on it. And while I'm working underneath it, I watch my neighbors pull off and go to the lake with their kids, and I'm underneath this boat. I literally feel like crying when this is happening because they're going off and having a good time. I'm sitting underneath my little trailer trying to fix it so I could go wash houses on a Saturday. And the thought went inside my head, I'm giving up today so I can have tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody that's listening to our stories, yes, we went hiking. Yes, we had fun. Yes, there were events, but the time has to come from somewhere. The money has to come from somewhere. You can't just grow a business without time and money. And that is the thing that most folks who want to start a business aren't willing to sacrifice. And so I'm amazed on your story. I think you've got an on point brand and doing a fabulous job. Do you have any nightmare stories yet?
Oh, all the time. There's definitely going to be the nightmare stories, burning some grass. And actually, the one of the biggest stories was probably like my fourth job ever, and this is the only time it's ever happened. And it was way early in the days, and it was just me and my mom, and I almost was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this industry. And we hooked up into this multi-million-dollar. We hooked up to this. I couldn't hook up their hose because their hose had a hole in it, and their hose was like corroded onto the spigot, so there was no getting there on. And it's the only hose there. So I'm like, okay, let me go grab a wrench, and I'm gonna get this spigot off. I did one little turn on that hose, and the whole spigot broke right off the wall, and this water just started shooting out of the wall. So I run over to the homeowner. I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. I turned the water off to the house. The spigot broke. Thankfully, she said, oh my goodness, another one. So this was a common problem with the customer. But I told her I was going to hire a plumber, and I was going to get it fixed for her, and don't worry about it. I would get it fixed by the end of the day. And she actually had a plumber that came over and fixed it right away. But things like that, I tell my associates now, don't ever, if you can't get the hose off, don't put any tools on there. Don't yank on it, nothing. Try to use another spigot or talk to the customer and see if they can help you with it.
That's so good. And there's so many problems that happen in just starting a business. And that brings to memory so many different hose issues and,
Mm-hmm.
team members not rolling up the reel all the way or clicking it in. And the next thing you know, you got 200 yards of hose that's rolling down the interstate and the things are going crazy on the back. All right. Final question. For someone who's listening and they have a corporate job and they're really wanting to start a side hustle so they can one day have a full-time business, what is your number one piece of advice?
My advice would be find something that is going to fulfill you. For me, it was running a business. I like the aspect of running a business and growing a business. Pressure washing, it's not my dream and my desire to wash houses, but owning a business was. And you have to, if you're going to leave your corporate job to do something that you enjoy, because then it's just going to become a job. And you're going to be working in your job that you just left to work into another job. And then another piece of advice would be, when you are working your corporate job and running your side hustle, you will know the time when to leave. You will be mentally and physically exhausted to the point where you have to make a choice. There's no in between where you're questioning to say, is it now's the right time? Because I've had friends trying to push me a year ago. Hey, you should leave your job. Hey, you should leave your job. And I was like, no, it's not time yet. It's not time yet. And I just kept going. And they kept questioning, like, when are you going to leave that job? You're running around with your head cut off. That's what I want. I want to be so busy that as soon as I leave my job to go into the business, I'm already I'm a full speed ahead. I don't want no downtime. And that's exactly where I pushed it to.
And I love your mindset and I appreciate all your advice. I'm going to be running a series called From the Other Side, where we end up bringing the spouses on of pressure washing companies. Do you think your wife would be open for an interview?
Oh yeah, she's the stories that she would tell.
That's why we want her on. So I want to thank you for being a great guest. Love your energy. Your mindset is fantastic. And I look forward to seeing you taking over Jacksonville.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
And until next time, peace.
I absolutely love hearing stories of Christian business owners and kingdom-minded entrepreneurs who start side hustles and scale them into big businesses that make a difference inside the city. If you're interested in learning more about starting or scaling, I want you inside of our community. I am looking for every who that's connected to a trade to come inside of a network, and we all work together on creating jobs, making disciples, and serving the city, so we can make an impact and make an income and leave a lasting legacy. And I'll see you at the asyougo.network. Join